Hello everyone, my name is Rochelle Innocent and I'm the founder and CEO of Project Purpose. Welcome to our channel. Our community is focused on fostering the intellectual and character development in children. We do this through our parent-child workshops that are focused on 4 themes: autonomy, self-efficacy, compassion, and self-concept, in order to cultivate grit, perseverance, and resilience in each child. And we are so thrilled to be offering one of the first of its kind digital, virtual, and continuous learning environments, enabling parents and children to connect from all around the world. At Project Purpose, our overarching mandate is to renew and rebuild a family, community, and relationships. Our different social media platforms provide us with an opportunity to have discussions on all topics that relate to family, community, and relationships with ourselves as well as with others, with a primary focus on mental health and education. More precisely, the ways that the institutions of mental health and education play a role and have played a role in our societies at large. These discussions and debates provide us with an opportunity to think critically about what needs to change within these structures for us to live up to our bold slogan: support, protect, and empower each child through youth-focused development, better known as leadership in juvenescence. For those of you who are particularly keen on the topic, we also write thought pieces every other Sunday, and we actually just dropped a thought piece this past Sunday. So definitely be sure to meander over to the website, subscribe, and check out our online content. If it is the case that you are looking for a listening alternative, well, we're available on 10 different podcast platforms for your listening leisure, and we provided you with access to the links in the description down below. Now, as is the convention, be sure to subscribe, hit that post notification bell so that you are aware of every time we post. And of course, if you like these conversations and you want to keep them going, like, comment, and share this segment. Let's get into it. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another segment here on Project Purpose. For those of you who are new, we cover topics that relate to mental health, mental wellness, and education on a week-by-week basis. And today our topic of discussion is education. And on the topic of education this week, we're going to be talking about the importance of focusing on character development and why character development is an objective that really should be something that our educational systems take more seriously than they do. But I think that sometimes we just assume that things happen organically and we wait and see what happens. It's the great nature over nurture debate. But I am of the mindset that as much as there is aspects of our character that are nature, we are born with these aspects and these characteristics. Much of character is built. It's something that is a byproduct of nurture, a byproduct of the things that we go through, or the things that we don't go through, or the things that we're exposed to and the things that we're not exposed to, and some of the rationale and reasoning, the closure that we receive as a result of these lived experiences. And I do personally believe that intellectual development and character development go hand in hand, and this is a conversation as to why. So in our first video this week, we really talked about the significance of intellectual development and how our education system sometimes blurs the lines by way of defining intellectual development as one's capacity to acquire knowledge, so sort of sees knowledge acquisition and intellectual development within the same light. And I'm here to say not the case. And if you want to hear more of my argument as to what distinguishes intellectual development from knowledge acquisition, definitely check out that video. And in this segment, I'm here to talk about why intellectual development and character development go hand in hand. And it's really important that we recognize that these things are nurtured. They are built into us, whether or not we are intentional or unintentional, but it's always best to be intentional when it comes to A, intellectual development, and B, character development, because one's character is going to dictate how one takes what they know and applies it to the larger setting. And all of us play a role in our collective societies, whether it's our local societies or as part of the global community. And part of how we see ourselves and the roles we play plays into our own character development, or whether or not we're experiencing perpetual arrested development. And I don't want that to be any of us. And I think that when we think about societies and the collective consciousness and the evolution of culture, of tradition, the moral compass of a given nation, all of that is built into the characters of each person who plays a role in that society, right? And some of us have more influence than others, have more power than others. And a lot of how things translate, how things go, is a byproduct of the characters, the depth of integrity in the people making the decisions. And each one of us makes a decision in our society. And depending on how we go and grow our life, those decisions may have a big impact or a smaller impact, but there's always going to be an impact. And what we want to ensure when we think about character development is that we're developing characters that want to engage with their communities, with their societies in such a way where they're focused on bettering those societies and those communities based on a collective set of ideals that builds into what we consider to be integrity. And I think that character development is how integrity translates with intellect. It's the lens by which we use to make the decisions that we're making with the information that is presented in front of us, using a critical thinking lens and by way of how our decisions are going to impact our collective for better or for worse. And when we fail to focus on character development, when we neglect character development, then it's pretty much a gong show. And I think that might be dramatic language, but there's a lot of people who are presented with the same information, and the depth of their character, their own value system, their belief system, their attitudes towards integrity, or their own internal integrity is going to dictate what they do with their power, what they do with their influence, what kinds of decisions that they make. And we all want to benefit from like intelligent decision making. We all want to feel as though we're doing our part to ensure that when we think about integrity and what integrity looks like, that it translates in alignment with the values that we speak to, that we take pride in when we think about our collective consciousness or our collective societies. And I know I'm talking to a global audience, so I'm trying to use language that is fairly broad because I think integrity translates in alignment with your own society's view or evolving view of right and wrong, evolving view of progress, evolving view of community, of collectivity, of sustainability, of ecology, of justice. I mean, all of this really boils down to character development, right? And it's one thing to focus on making sure that we have smart, brilliant minds, the best and the brightest. But best is subjective, and brightest is also subjective, all based on sort of the lens of character. And I think that we spent too long a time leaving character to chance, leaving character to happenstance, and so much of us go through so many experiences that are less than, experiences that can be harmful, that can leave a mark on us in a negative way. And if we haven't taken the time, or if we haven't built our character, then the way that we respond might not be the best for us, and in kind not best for the people around us, and in kind not best for the societies that we participate in. So if you really think about it, or how it really all boils down, is that character development is really the locus by which all of us navigate in collective settings, right? If we're alone and we have a poor moral character, I mean, we are the only ones who are going to be impacted by that. And like our decisions will have weight on ourselves, but unfortunately we're social beings. We live in a collective society. Our character is really going to be what dictates the level of harmony that we have with one another, the level of compassion and empathy that we have with one another. I think that we need to put more emphasis on character development. We need to recognize and distinguish different types of programming that really is focused on nourishing character development. That's why I built Project Purpose, to be honest with you. I built Project Purpose because I've recognized in the different spaces that I've gone in and grown in, there can be so many different degrees in one's character being developed. And again, like my concept of character and what makes a strong character and the things that built into my concept of integrity, I mean, they're very much North American driven, but I do feel that I've had enough exposure to different communities across the world where I think there are certain ideals that are generally held, right? Like honesty, integrity. Strong character means, doing the right thing when it's hard, taking care of people who are unable to take care of themselves, like looking out for the best interest of the whole and not just, self-serving interests, recognizing that we are better together when we think about the collective, when we're not just focusing on our own personal gains. I mean, all of these different things really build into having a strong character, and it's easier to do other things, especially if we haven't been provided the tools or the environment or, necessarily the setting that would foster a character that would value these things. But I do think that it's something that we can still try to instill in our children who are going to adopt the world that we leave behind, right? And Right now there's so much going on in the world, so much going on in the world. And I think that a lot of it is a byproduct of the disparities in characters who are in places and positions of power and influence, and their character or lack thereof is showing. And I think that all of us should be concerned when it is the case that we see that people who have great influence, great power, have a real lack of character, like the depth of character just isn't there. And I think the best way to address it is to ensure that we focalize on it in the generations to come. So we focus on our own personal character development. We think about what it is to be of strong, good character. We value being people of strong and good character. We value having a strong sense of morality. However, that is defined and aligned in your specific societies. Like, these are things that we need to value. These are things that we need to see reflected in the people that we choose to make decisions that drive our communities and our societies forward so that we're progressing. And I've always said progress is not a straight line. Like, progress is a lot of this going on, hopefully in an upward direction. There's a lot of regression in progress. And I think sometimes it's very scary when we see regression in our societies or in economies that have a great amount of power and influence. But as long as we're focused on the gap, on bridging the gap by building our own characters, building on our own sense of integrity, nourishing our children so they have strong character and integrity, then we can always have hope. If I am nothing else, I am perpetually hopeful that nothing is ever so far gone that it's not able to rebound back again. Progress is non-linear. It involves lots of setbacks, lots of backpedaling, but it doesn't mean that we're completely lost. It just means that there's so much more to do, and we need to just be a little bit more focused, a little bit more intentional, a little bit more mindful about where energy goes to bridge those gaps and to create resolutions that allow us to realign like who we are as people, how we cultivate character within our given society so that it aligns with what we all feel progress looks like for our societies. So that's the bit of the conversation around character development and why character development is so important, and also why character development goes hand in hand with intellectual development. And I didn't talk so much about intellectual development, but I think it's so important to recognize that for those of us who are pursuing higher education, for those of us who are lifelong learners, who care about acquiring information and applying that information in different ways, we need to recognize that the way that we apply that information is through the lens of our character, right? And if there are things that you see that you're comfortable doing that don't align with integrity, with having, a strong value system, with having a belief system that fosters, positivity, community, collective ideas that you see, bring about for the most part, the best for the majority of people at the very least, if not all of us, which is sort of the ideal that we're all aiming towards, then there's something lacking. I would hate to think that the best and the brightest are the most morally bankrupt, right? Or by way of character, their character is bankrupt. Like, that's not a reality that I personally would want to contribute to, and I want to do everything that I can to ensure that those who are really invested in academics, invested in building a critical thinking lens, also have the character required to apply what they know in a way that is really in alignment with having, strong integrity, strong moral compass, having, a value and appreciation for the greater good, so on and so forth. I think that these are things that for me are really the building blocks of character development. They're not things that I would overlook. They're not things that I would leave to chance, which is why Project Purpose has built e-modules that really focus on what I consider to be the pillars of both intellectual and character development, the pillars that build into our critical thinking lens and our ability to push through the difficulties that life is going to throw at us. And I can't shield everyone and protect everyone from the difficulties that they'll face. I can't even protect myself from the difficulties that I've been through, but I can push through because I do believe that I've invested personally, and I've had people in my community invest in ensuring that my character has been developed in alignment with having strong integrity and wanting the best for the greater good and wanting to create an impact for people, to give people sort of the tools to make the best out of their own lives and make decisions that really support our collective in a way where we're progressing and where we are all very proud of how that translates, how the growth and evolution of our society, our cultural and moral fabric is growing. In any case, that was essentially it. I wanted to jump on here and have a conversation about that. I think it's been a while since I've really talked about the ethos of Project Purpose. And the ethos of Project Purpose is really being cognizant that to create an environment where all of us are contributing to our society from a lens of wanting the best for our collective society, is we need to hone in on both intellectual and character development, and having done training and development, building programs that focus on activating potential, on tapping into top talent. I want to do that for everyone. I want to make that accessible to everyone and anyone, not just the best and brightest in, Fortune 500 companies. I think that everyone should have access to it, and that's why Project Purpose is on the market, wanting to make these products available to you. In any case, I think that's it for now, but definitely not all. Now, before letting you go, I would be remiss if I didn't let you know that we will be going live at least twice a month, every month for the foreseeable future on our Facebook page. So definitely be sure to tune in. Now, these events are paid events, so if you do see yourself participating in our community on an ongoing basis, then I suggest that you take a look at one of our package plans. Now, our package plans provide you with access to all of our live events, so unlimited access, but also access to webinars and workshops over and above those live events, which largely focus on self-mastery. So if you do see yourself really engaging with our Game Changer community, definitely get yours today. Now, if you're concerned with the pricing, don't be. We've just incorporated a new payment solution, Afterpay, that gives you the opportunity to pay in 4 installments over a period of 6 weeks, making all of our programming more accessible to you. So much on the go, so much still in the pipeline. We're growing, and we're really excited at the evolution of our community. We're excited about every single one of you that has joined in, that is participating in the conversation, that wants to drive the needle on change and wants to be a game changer. So all of that to say, thank you so much for joining in on the conversation today. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, subscribe to all of our social media platforms, subscribe to our website, and thank you for being part of the growth. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you all very soon.